I don't normally do this, but before this episode starts, I have to say a few things. With everything going on right now, I've honestly been unsure of whether or not I should even be making and releasing episodes of How to Drink. I don't know if it's the right time for what amounts to a silly, frivolous show that I hope is entertaining about drinks. I still don't know. But because this show is often about history, I sometimes do have opportunities to address racial and economic injustices, and I do my best there. I'm going to continue to do my best there. I think I've been mostly okay on that, except for in that episode about Winston Churchill. I did regrettably fail to call him out as a genocidal, racist a-hole. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm really sorry about that, actually. In case it wasn't obvious, I am opposed to police brutality, state-sponsored oppression, and fascism. In light of the murder of George Floyd and countless others at the hands of police, I have made donations to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund and a split donation between a set of bail funds via Act Blue. I'm going to provide the links to those so that if you think it's necessary, you can make donations that you can afford when you are able. Just so that I'm clear, I'm not changing the format of the show. Don't expect a message from me like this at the beginning of every episode going forward. I am striving to keep it a fun show, a respite maybe for some people in these inarguably dark times. If you want me to keep my opinion to myself, though, you can get bent, but you will be pretty safe from it here on YouTube. My other platforms, not so much. All right, thank you for your time. I hope you will enjoy this episode about the cocktails of 1918, which seemed really relevant when I shot it last week. Ugh. In 1918, of course, we're getting closer to the armistice. We're right before the dawn of the Roaring '20s. The whole history of the golden age of cocktails is behind us, and so I wonder what folks were drinking, if they had anything to drink when they were drinking it. And so let's talk about that today on the show. In 1918, World War I was in full swing, raging, and basically all of the participating countries passed laws that made it illegal for their newspapers to print news that would be discouraging to their war effort. So it happens to fall to Spain, who was neutral and uninvolved, to break the story about a flu epidemic. The rest of the world responds by calling it the Spanish flu, implying that it came from there. It didn't. It's actually a debated topic where it originated, but from my reading, the earliest reported case was actually on an army base in Kansas. So some people think it started here in America. Maybe that's true. For what it's worth, by the way, in Spain, they thought it came from France, so they called it the French flu. But it's 1918. People are drinking when they can drink, amidst, yes, masks and social distancing, as was the order of the day in 1918. And yes, there was resistance against it then, as there is now. The more they change, the more they stay the same. So I wondered what people were drinking. So let's get into that. So the first drink I wanted to tackle is the Grasshopper. It's a venerable classic invented most likely at Tujague's, a restaurant in New Orleans. Certainly takes most people credit it to being created at Tujague's. And I'm super glad I looked up how to pronounce Tujague's because I definitely would have pronounced that Tujague's. Tujague's, apparently. Never would have read it that way. Probably invented at Tujague's, certainly no later than 1919. It may have been around at Tujague's in New Orleans before that. It's kind of a dessert drink, the Grasshopper. Since then, there have been countless permutations and variations on this. There's a whole Midwestern school of thought that uses ice cream here. Even now, Tujague's has a wildly opulent version of it, is their house version now. I think that there's enough going on with the Grasshopper that I should do a whole episode on Grasshopper variations. This isn't that. Today we're just going to talk about the 1919 original version using the best information I can find. Tradition holds this drink has to be green. That's why it's called the Grasshopper. That's how it got its name. Creme de Menthe is sometimes green, but I think that current thinking is that the green Creme de Menthe isn't very good. As such, I can't find green Creme de Menthe anywhere. I think Marie Brizard makes a green Creme de Menthe. I was unable to acquire it. Even at Astor Wines, they didn't have it. What was I gonna do? Because I couldn't make a not green Grasshopper. I looked into actually making my own Creme de Menthe, which is very interesting, but still does not yield green Creme de Menthe. So how does Creme de Menthe even get green? Well, the companies that make it add food coloring to it. And that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna use a good creme de menthe. I'm gonna use Tempus Fugit's creme de menthe, which is fantastic. And we're gonna throw a few drops of food coloring in. What is creme de menthe? It is a sweet, syrupy almost, liqueur that is flavored with mint. That's what it is. You can make it pretty easy, apparently. Maybe that's what we'll do in the Grasshopper episode. We'll make our own when we come to that. This isn't that, this isn't that. So to make this drink, I'm gonna need my shaker. I'm gonna grab my shaking tin. I'm gonna do it with a jigger. It's a very simple drink. It's equal parts. We're gonna need 1 ounce of heavy cream, which I've put into this presentational bottle, and you can see it's quite heavy. It's like thickening just sitting here. And I think in the UK, by the way, if you're watching from over there, they call it double cream. It's come up in the show comments a few times that people over there don't know what heavy cream is. It's the same as double cream, apparently. And then also in the States, something called heavy whipping cream, which is heavy cream that they've added some, I think it's like carrageenan wax or whatever to it, just to help it like fluff up better when you want to whip it. You don't need that to make whipped cream. You can just whip cream. I don't know why they do that. I think that's a really weird thing. I need 1 ounce of a white creme de cacao. It's got nothing really to do with flavor-wise, the white versus the dark. It's because if we use a dark, it's gonna throw the color off, and we're going for a specific color. If you don't care about the color, dark creme de cacao is gonna get you the same, it's gonna taste great. I need 1 ounce of my creme de menthe, and I am using Tempus Fugit's creme de menthe. Tempus Fugit is a company that makes fantastic liqueurs. Oftentimes, Tempus Fugit, time is fleeting, they are recreations of vintage and golden age recipes, formulations. So if there is a more accurate creme de menthe, then Tempus Fugit is probably the company that's gonna make it. And now for the secret ingredient. We're gonna need a couple of drops of green food dye because you can't get green creme de menthe apparently around here. Immediately dyed my fingers green. I think 3 drops is way more than enough based on how quickly it stained my fingers. I thought about putting it into a dasher bottle, but then I would have a green dasher bottle forever, I think. The old recipe doesn't call for dry shaking, at least not in print, as far as I've read. Would it be hurt to dry shake this? No, it wouldn't hurt it at all. The only problem with that is that you might actually whip the whipped cream and then it would not pour. Like if you over shake whipped cream, it won't pour. It'll actually thicken into butter or whipped cream. Tujague's actually nowadays, their recipe calls for only dry shaking and serving the drink at room temperature, which I'm looking forward to trying in a future episode where I do just grasshoppers. Not today. As always, 1 big cube, 1 dinky winky cube. Not dinky winky, it's just cracked. Oh my God, there's so much green on my hand from that. It's unreal. Let's pour this drink into sour glass. That is neon green, look at that. And for a garnish, I know that the current trend is to use a little shaved chocolate, but apparently, way back in the day, from what I've read, it was nutmeg. So let's go with a little nutmeg. It smells nice too, I love that. A little fresh nutmeg, my green fingers, and here we go. With a Grasshopper Green. It does smell lovely with that nutmeg, jeez. This tastes like melted mint chocolate chip ice cream. This is incredible. You don't need the nutmeg, but it adds a lot of character to it that would be missing otherwise, because it really just tastes like melted ice cream. It kind of is melted ice cream. If you think about the ingredients, it's delicious. It's mint, chocolatey, ice creamy flavor. That's what it tastes like. It tastes like mint chip ice cream. Those tasting notes are done. The creaminess of it is not to be understated. It is lovely. What a wonderful, smooth, silky texture it has too. I'm just gonna finish this, I think. Well, I shouldn't, because I should have in my hand. I could probably have gone with less green. So we've got our grasshopper. We are slipping right along here in 1918, and we're moving on to a very famous bartender, Harry McElhone, who created the White Lady. That's good. I'm gonna keep enjoying that. This drink is on the list. It's a weird technicality because, yes, there was a White Lady in 1918, and yes, it's a famous drink, but the version that is famous and popular today really doesn't bear much resemblance to the 1918 version. The version that you're probably more familiar with comes from 1927, created by also Harry McAlone. He just really liked that name. He said, you know what, that didn't stick in 1919. I'm gonna make this drink work. I'm gonna make that name. It's gonna happen. We're gonna do this. Came back in 1927 with another drink. It's like an egg white gin drink. The 1918 version is nothing like that. And I have a bit of a conundrum. Do I make the version that people are familiar with, or do I stick to the history component of the episode and make the 1919 version, 1918 version? Well, I think the answer is I'm going to make the 1918 version, and we will save the other white lady for another day. Right after the break, I'm going to make a white lady. Never had that before, let's do it. So in 1919, when Henry McAlone was making this drink, he was making it with equal parts creme de menthe, lemon juice, and dry curacao, or triple sec. So creme de menthe comes again. Let's keep going. Let's roll right along. I got another shaker here. Let's keep this guy handy because there's a little bit left there and I want to enjoy that. I'm working on you. I see you. I see you, baby. I got your number. Ding, ding. We need some lemon juice here. This is an equal parts drink. Honestly, I don't know how much juice is going to come out of this lemon. That's probably how I'm going to make the drink. Whatever comes out of the lemon. So 1.25 ounces of lemon juice. So it's 1 part lemon juice, 1 part triple sec, 1 part creme de menthe. So we have 1.25 ounces of lemon. I need 1.25 ounces of my curacao in this case. And we're going to stick with our period appropriate Tempus Fugit creme de menthe. It's so syrupy. That's why it's called creme, by the way. I have a bottle of menthe pastille. It's not so sweet. All right, let's shake it up. We're going to shake this over ice. 1 big uncracked cube and one that's shattered.
Message! What? You mean message?
Look, I know what I mean, you lunatic. Now, do you or do you not have for me the massage?
1 big cube. And here we go, the 1918 version of the White Lady. Glad I got that extra 1/4 ounce out of everything. And let's see how we like the 1918 version of a White Lady. That's different. Wow, that's cool. It's got a really different flavor profile than you would expect. It's not sweet at all. There's not any other cocktail I can think of that's like that. I mean, it's very tart. The lemon is super present. Maybe equal parts is too much, but in a weird way, like that lemony bite is actually accentuated by the mint. That kind of pore opening cold mint flavor just sort of like weakens you to the lemon. It makes you more vulnerable to it. It really attacks your mouth with puckering kind of sour. Does the curacao come through? Yes, because it brings a little bit of sweetness, but I guess most of the sweetness that's there is coming from the creme de menthe, but it doesn't really taste like a sweet drink at all. There's probably a lot of sugar in it, and you don't taste sweetness. It's a real eye-opener. I mean, it's just like so tart and sharp and balanced, definitely balanced, not out of whack at all. I think it's pretty great, actually. I think it's pretty great. Now, it's not nearly as nice as the 1927 version with its egg white and the gin and everything like that, and this is lower proof as well. But it's a very nice drink. It kind of reminds me of like a lemonade, like a not sweet lemonade. Something you'd have in an afternoon tea.
Wow, that's lemonade.
I wouldn't be shocked to find this served alongside a Pim's cup, in fact. Not that it has its bedfellows with a Pim's cup, just that it has that kind of gardeny vibe. I don't know. Gardeny. A lot different than the 1927 version. My notes say that I should call it worse. I wouldn't say that. I mean, it isn't as good. You're right. I'm right. I'm right. Who's you? I'm me. Yeah, it's not as good as the 1927 version. Now, the rest of these drinks are all drinks I've made on the show before. I've had them before, and they're drinks I like. And I'm going to talk about how I made them and just raise your awareness of them and tell you a little bit of backstory on them. So the Negroni was invented in 1918, so you probably could have had one of those. It's got a real definitive history and origin point. So the story goes that this drink was invented at the Caffè Cassoni in 1919 in Florence, Italy. A literal count, Count Camillo Negroni, was friendly with the bartender there and breezed in one day and asked for his favorite drink, the Americano, but a little stiffer. a little bit more oomph, a little more kick. And so the bartender, savvy fellow, took out the club soda and swapped it for gin, changed the lemon garnish for an orange, and the rest is Negroni history. It became popular around the bar, and in Florence, people would ask for a Negroni, or, you know, the Negroni's drink, and eventually it just became a Negroni. The Count, by the way, no slouch when it comes to pouncing on an opportunity. He opened a distillery that was making bottled Negronis back in the 1919. Right away, he did that. And it's, I think, still in operation today. I kind of wonder about the authenticity of that story now that I think about it. When somebody opens a distillery the same year as this wonderful myth sort of occurs, you have to wonder if that myth is true or not. Everybody seems to agree that this is actually what happened, so I'm not going to really throw shade on it. Just saying that, like, that does sound a bit like a corporate backstory, but I don't know. I've made a Negroni on the show before, and I stand by that recipe. It's equal parts dry gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari stirred over ice. If you want to stir it over the ice, build it in the glass and stir it over the ice you're going to drink it on, that's fine. If you want to put it on new ice, that's fine too. Throw a twist of an orange over the top. Bellissimo. Perfecto. Another drink that would have been popular in 1919 or 1918 would have been the Singapore Sling. Gin slings and its many variations had been around for quite a long time actually at this point. So the Singapore Sling had deep roots. Now, I've done this drink on the show before, and I've mentioned it pretty recently, and in case you missed that, here it is again. There's a hotel in Singapore that claims to have invented it at their bar, the Long Bar. The hotel's called Raffles. David Wondrich says that maybe that's not so true, that pink slings, i.e. the Singapore Sling, were popular in Singapore in the years prior to the Raffles claim, or I think even existence. I made this drink a while back on my Tiki series, and personally, in making it for myself since then, I've kind of changed my recipe a bit. These days I make a Singapore Sling with 2 ounces of London dry gin, half an ounce of lemon juice, half an ounce of pineapple juice. I don't have a close-up for that because I didn't use pineapple juice back when I shot this on the Tiki series, and half an ounce of cherry hearing or Sangre Malalaco, if you have the Luxardo equivalent. And a 1/4 ounce of Benedictine. That's really, really important to this drink, and it can't be replaced. That's gonna add all of the unique characteristics to what makes this drink itself, I think, personally. Shake it over ice, strain it, and top it up with club soda. The pineapple juice is in there and make it foam a little bit. Enjoy it slowly because they sneak up on you. They pack a wallop. They're great. Is it a tiki drink? Not really, but it belongs in a tiki bar. It's got that vibe. It goes in tiki menus. I don't think there's a tiki bar anywhere that doesn't have a Singapore Sling on the menu. Somebody's gonna prove me wrong in the comments. There's a few more drinks from 1918 I want to talk about right after the break. Another drink that would have been popular in 1918 is the Ward 8. So legend holds that the Ward 8 was invented at the Lochaber Hotel around 1898 to celebrate a political victory by Ward boss, what's that guy's name? Cut to the old episode. Martin the Mahatma Lamanzi, the ward boss of North Boston. David Wonder says that story doesn't really truly hold water. He's got his reasons. I will include a link to an article by him about that. I keep referencing David Wonders. Thank you, David, for doing the research for me. My research is reading your research. Regardless, this drink would have been on menus, certainly around the Boston area, and I think broader. I did an episode on it previously, and I made the drink, and I hated it. What the fuck is in that? Apparently, that's like a common thing I've found out since then, that people really, they don't like the Ward 8, that it doesn't really hold up. That's an issue with a lot of drinks that have orange juice in it, and the Ward 8 does call for orange juice. I retweaked the recipe slightly, and I really liked my improved version, which I think, honestly, it was so close to the original spec that I think it counts. We called it a Ward 8.5, and so you can too if you want. If you're gonna make a Ward 8, I'm going with that one. I got a link down there in the pinned comment below and also in the video description. But the recipe, if you're interested, I used half an ounce of grenadine. And I used a half an ounce of lemon juice. I used 1/4 ounce of blood orange. If you don't have blood orange, I think regular orange would be fine. But I used the blood orange because I had it and it jazzed it up a bit. 2 ounces of rye. and this is really where it goes far from the original. I use an egg white in the drink as well. Dry shake that with the egg white. Then I shake it again with the ice, strain it into a coupe. I dash some Angostura bitters across that nice frothy egg white foam. And that drink was very good. It was a very good drink. I really enjoyed that drink. I think I finished that drink. It was so much better than that Ward 8. That's a weird episode because I'm just like plucking along. I was like, it was a bad drink. It was a bad drink. Not a good drink. So is that all the drinks that would have been on the menu in 1918? No. These are drinks that I thought they had some direct connection. They were either rose to prominence, or they were invented, or they were directly... We know they were very popular at that time, like the Singapore Sling. Most of these drinks I think were really kind of invented right around that time. The Caipirhinia was originally going to be part of this episode because there's a legend that says it was invented in 1918, or that it became popular at the very least as a cure for the Spanish flu. There's a lot more information about that. It really felt weird to nest that into another episode, so that spun out of my research of this. There's another episode that is coming out about the Caipirhinia and its roots in actually 2 pandemics. Yes, it is connected to the Spanish flu outbreak of 1918, and it was popular, although the recipe probably bore very little resemblance to a modern-day Caipirhinia. Oddly enough, earlier than that, there was another drink that I don't know if it carried the name Caipirhinia, but it was popular in Brazil. Basically the same recipe as a Caipirhinia. So I would encourage you to check that out if that's of interest to you. And I would also encourage you to check that out if that's not of interest to you, because I gotta eat. So please, just don't stop watching the show. That would be terrible if you did that. Hey, if you like the show, my name is Greg. I have a Twitter at HowToDrink. There's a number in the middle, and an Instagram at HowToDrink with a number in the middle as well. The other one was taken. I have a Twitch. I'm on Twitch. I do live stuff on Twitch, and I'm doing quite a bit of live stuff, so come on hang out with me at twitch.tv/Greg from HTD. Running Dungeons & Dragons on Thursday nights. I'm doing stuff here in my bar. I'm making drinks. We're rapping. The kids rap still. We're talking about whatever. I'm answering your questions. We're shooting the shit, chewing the fat. John, we're doing stuff. It's fun. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/howtodrink. Subscribe, like, comment, all that junk that YouTubers are supposed to say, or don't. Do whatever you want. It's your click. It's your like. You do what you want with it. I'll just be here. Internet boy. Internet boy. I don't want to be internet boy. So I hope that you are... I have green all over my fingers from making that grasshopper, which was really good, by the way. Is there any of that left? Oh, there is a little bit of that left. Let's have that. A little bit more grasshopper. Thank you. Man, I'm going to make a lot of these. I'm going to get huge.